Welcome to Conversation with the Community Leader, brought to you by the Leadership Kitsap Foundation. I'm your host and Leadership Kitsap alum, Dave Walters. With me today is Alanna Imbach from Vibe Coworks and the brand new Matchstick Lab. So thank you for coming, Alanna.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's, before we dive into all those two exciting things, let's kind of talk about you. I know you're a local, so did you grow up here in Paulsbo?
I grew up here in Paulsbo, third generation Kitsapian, though I was born actually in Colorado. So I was born in Colorado, then we moved over to California before we moved back here when I was probably about 8.
Okay, and then did you go to college here?
I graduated from North Kitsap High School and then Western Washington University. Never thought I was coming back to Kitsap. I did my master's over in Madrid.
Oh, wow.
And then moved back here after 17 years away in 2017.
So 17 years in Europe?
Not all in Europe.
Oh.
So we were, it was Bellingham for a while, Europe for a while, and then New York City actually before moving back here.
Oh, wow. And then, so why back to Kitsap?
Well, family's here, right? Which is very important to me. And my husband's actually from Switzerland. So being in New York, we were kind of halfway between the two.
Oh.
Got surprised being pregnant with twins in Manhattan, and we finally said, look, we've moved so many times, we've got one more move left in us, let's move back to one side of the family or the other. And when we looked at Kitsap, we said, it's got so much going for it. It's got the water, it's got good schools, it's beautiful, our family is there, relatively affordable. We'd be crazy not to go back. So here we are.
Great. So what'd you get your degree in?
My undergrad, I have 2, political science and Spanish literature.
Okay, perfect for entrepreneurs.
Perfect for entrepreneurs. And also perfect for entrepreneurs. My master's was actually a program called International Solidarity Action, which is a combination of migration and asylum law, international development, cooperative development, and humanitarian aid. So.
Okay, and then I saw in your bio, you actually went and used that and worked in that field.
I did. That was where I thought I would spend the whole of my career doing that work. So I started doing migration and refugee work, and then I switched over to the World Food Program. So I was doing food and nutrition. And then I kind of ended that chapter, I guess, doing water, sanitation, and hygiene.
Oh, wow. And was that in New York?
In New York. So I started actually in Geneva.
Okay.
So with the UN and with a large international NGO. And then when I came to New York City, I was working with the UN World Food Program.
Oh, wow. That's an exciting career.
It was fun.
and then back here, and then, I do have to do a shameless plug for Leadership Kitsap, right? Because you are a Leadership Kitsap alum.
I am. And actually, when we moved back in 2017, Leadership Kitsap was one of the first things I signed on to because I felt like I'd been away for so long.
Oh, how to jump back
into the community? I really wanted to get regrounded into kind of what was happening here, who the players were, what the kind of key issues were. And so that was why I specifically sought out Leadership Kitsap my very first year back.
All right. And then entrepreneur. So with Vibe Coworks, located in Paulsbo, how did you always want to be an entrepreneur? Is that in your husband's blood? How did you guys come up with that?
All a happy accident. So like I said, I was certain that my whole career was going to be international development related. Mm-hmm. I come from a family with a very long history of business ownership and starting and building things.
Okay.
And so, it's funny looking back now, you realize how much you learn by osmosis and all of the, dinner table conversations that were around. And I credit hugely having that family network also to be able to teach me the ropes as we had this crazy idea to say, well, we're not finding what we want here. Mm-hmm. Let's start it.
Okay.
So.
And then how did you settle on the co-working?
Co-working was another happy accident. When we were living in New York City, I worked for a nonprofit organization that I adored. And we were fortunate that we were paying way under market rent on our location, and we outgrew it. And so the solution at the time was to say, well, everyone's going to hot desk one day a week. You got to go home. And the thick Lenovo laptop we had to carry home and all the commute and everything. And then we had a board member who owned a co-working space in New York City. And they said, well, one day a week, all the team is going to go work out of the co-working space to give us more flexibility in the in the main office for the
Okay,
organization.
so you were really familiar with the model and the benefits of it.
I was pushed into it. I said, this is horrible. This is the worst idea ever. I will not go. And then we got into it, and I became a total convert.
Okay. And then, so tell me a little bit about the Vibe Coworks. What does it offer? First of all, where is it at? Because I know you also have a Bremerton location now.
We do. So 2 locations. Our flagship location is in Paulsbo in the Centennial Building. So we were fortunate to have the opportunity to design and build that building from scratch specifically to house our co-working space. And so we drew on the best of what we'd seen of co-working spaces all across the country and all across the world, to include meeting rooms that are available by the hour, event space that's available by the hour, private offices, and then a whole variety of different types of flexible workspaces, including phone booths and things that feel silly but make a big difference, like monitors and laptop stands and
They
things.
just make it easy to use as your office away from the office.
Exactly.
And then, what are your hours? Are you open late at night? Because I think I've seen people there at night.
So we're staffed Monday through Friday, 8 until 5.
Okay.
The folks that are on a regular monthly membership, once they've been with us through kind of an initial period, we grant them 24/7 access. So
Oh, wow.
there are people there
Okay.
pretty much at all hours of day, which matches with the realities of how people are working. So we get people working with international clients and teams, early East Coast hours.
They really need those funny, unusual,
Yeah.
just not Pacific hours.
Yes, and or a lot of people that are working on building businesses alongside their day jobs, right? So they work their day jobs, and then in the after
I hadn't
hours,
even
they're
thought about
going
that
and starting
aspect.
businesses, or juggling the realities of family life with kids and things that don't always fit in that 9 to 5.
And then, so if so, there's a membership, and then there's also like a pay one-time use.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to use it. So we offer a day pass, just a la carte when you need to come in. The meeting rooms and event space is open to everyone. It's bookable by the hour. And then for folks that know they want to be there more consistently, we've got 4 different levels of monthly membership, depending on how often you want to come in.
And then the new Bremerton office, what's in the Bremerton one?
The Bremerton location is a little different. So it's not a co-working space. It's an offsite meeting and retreat space. So it's unstaffed, and you can essentially compare it kind of like to an Airbnb.
Oh, okay.
That you go online, book the room, we give you an access code. It is fully privately yours. A lot of people are using it for board meetings and strategy offsites and that sort of thing.
Oh, okay. And it has all the amenities that
Has
you
all
would
the
need for those
amenities you
kind of
need.
things.
Yeah,
Too.
so it's got a little kitchenette, all the TV, webcams, and lots and lots of whiteboard walls, which are amazing.
Oh, whiteboard walls. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, so what are anything else on Vibe Coworks? I really want to dive into your latest venture that started in March. You said is the Matchstick Lab. So what is Matchstick Lab? What is your elevator speech for Matchstick Lab?
I think to understand Matchstick Lab, you have to understand a little bit of Vibe first. So your first question, is there anything more on Vibe? So when you talk about co-working spaces, most people think about essentially real estate, right? It's a place where I go and I work and I do my thing. And I think anyone who has followed what we've built with Vibe will be very quick to point out that we have really put a ton of emphasis on community and connections between people that are working there.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of programming, so a lot of workshops and training seminars and lunch and learns and that sort of thing. So what's evolved out of it was this realization that we don't have a business model to support all of the time and energy and resources that are going into that community building side of it.
Right.
And B, there's a huge need and opportunity to have an entity that is really wholly focused on helping people start and grow businesses that can transform our region and our world from here in Kitsap. And while Vibe certainly plays a part of that, because we obviously have the physical space to do that, we needed something more. So a couple of years ago, we started just even in-house. We developed the brand Matchstick Lab. And we just started, at that time, it was really just a logo. We just started putting it on things that we were bucketing under the work we were doing around innovation and entrepreneurship at Vibe. So it was like if we were offering programming related to entrepreneurship, we bucketed under Matchstick Lab. And then we kind of made a little bit more of a public splash about it. We started like talking about it a little more publicly right at the same time that we were very fortunate to receive a grant through the Kitsap Economic Development Alliance, which received it from the Washington State Micro Enterprise Association, which received it from the Department of Commerce, to run an accelerator program. There was a 16-week program specifically for micro businesses.
Okay, so what is an accelerator program?
So it's basically this idea of saying, hey, we're going to take a cohort, we're going to take a group of, in this case, it's varied between 10 and 14 people locally who are starting a micro business in this case, because that's what the funding supported. Mm-hmm. We're going to put you together so you really have peer support with what you're building and don't feel that loneliness factor. And we're going to kind of teach you, we're going to help you walk through all of the ropes from beginning of idea to like, how would you actually execute on that business idea? Or if you already have a business idea, how do you take it to that next level?
So all the way through just an idea, through marketing, funding, business plan.
Yeah, all of that. So that accelerator is one component part of something that we're now offering under Matchstick Lab.
Wow.
But Matchstick Lab is actually intended to be much bigger than just that accelerator. And we're focusing specifically on education, which obviously the accelerator is part of that. Investment. So really trying to figure out how do we build a capital pool that can support early stage businesses and early stage ideas here in Kitsap that may not be ready. They're certainly not ready for venture funding.
Right.
But are they even bank loanable yet?
Uh-huh.
Maybe not. You might need some seed funding. And the storytelling piece, because there's so many bright ideas that are being born here in Kitsap, and many that are, beyond the birth stage. They're flying, but we're not capturing all of those stories. And so we really want to do a better job of trying to bring all of that together to paint the picture of Kitsap as a place where incredible businesses are not only being born, but thriving.
So do you bring in, so for your lunchtime learnings, or I think that's what you called it, or your during your accelerator where you teach classes on that, who do you bring in to teach those classes?
So for the accelerator specifically, we, as part of the grant that was put together by KEDA, the Kitsap Community Resources BEST program has a business plan training program, an 8-week course. And so they were brought in to execute that piece of it specifically.
So bring in the pros from Dover.
Okay. Exactly. The lunchtime lightning talks are a little different. So those we host them monthly. Currently, we're very grateful for sponsorship from the Western Washington University Small Business Development Center to make those possible. But we bring in 3 speakers at a time, and we try very much to have them be essentially small business people who are in the trenches doing the thing themselves, who can really speak to authentically the highs and lows and what the struggles are.
And real lessons learned.
And real lessons learned, because it's different when you're building the thing yourself.
Oh, wow. How, so you and your husband got this going, or is it just you? I'm sorry. I don't know. Steal your credit or his credit. So obviously your family's super involved in this with you and your husband. How do you balance? How do you do that work-life balance?
What's balance?
Exactly. You got the entrepreneur, you got Vibe, and you have Matchstick Lab that is continually growing and evolving. How do you strike work-life balance?
I don't know that I found that yet.
Okay.
And so Marcel is my husband. He and I started this together. He does a ton of the back end, kind of behind the scenes work. So he does a lot of the finance work in particular. But he has his own company that he started also 2 years ago. So we've got more startup businesses under our roof that we know what to do with. So he's increasingly, I don't want to say he's stepping away from Vibe, but he would like to. We would like to actually bring in a team that can replace him so that he can focus fully on his company. So yeah, we juggle a lot of balls, and I don't think we found the balance.
Okay. How many employees do you have between the two organizations?
1. We have 1.
You have 1 employee.
We have 1 employee. The rest of our team, what people see on the outside, so we operate with what we call space captains. And the Space Captains is a program that we set up that is a work trade. So folks that actually want to exchange hosting at the front desk for a half day or 2 half days a week in exchange for a full-time membership at the space.
Oh, wow, that's unique. And if you're an entrepreneur, in anything you can do to maybe save a little money, you want to jump on.
That too, though it's really not for the money purpose.
I meant for them.
For them,
Yeah.
for them, they look at it from the networking side
Yeah.
mostly, because it's like if
Okay.
you want that entryway into meeting just a ton of people from all walks of life in Kitsap, you sit at that front desk, you get to greet every person who comes through the door, and
Oh,
you
wow.
really get to understand what's happening in the community and understand how to better connect your own businesses that you're growing.
So how can the community get involved?
There's so many ways.
I know. That's a big question.
Yeah, I guess multiple pieces. So from the Vibe Coworks side, I would encourage everyone to come out to the events that we're hosting. Come work at the space. We're open free to everyone on the first Friday of every month.
Oh, wow.
And then we
Okay.
host a happy hour in the evening there together with Crabtree Kitchen and Bar. So it's a great just community networking opportunity.
And then your lunches. Do I have to have
Nope.
Do I have to have a monthly membership to go to the
Nope.
lunches?
So most everything we offer on the calendar is free and open to everyone. So we've got a great upcoming events calendar on our website that's definitely worth taking a look at.
Wow.
On the Matchstick Lab side of the house, like I said, we're very early days in building that out. We, as of just this last spring, we're now fiscally sponsored through the Kitsap Community Foundation. So we can leverage the advantages of having nonprofit status, especially for the donations that we need in order to support the work that we're doing. But specifically with Matchstick Lab, this November, so November is globally celebrated as Global Entrepreneurship Month.
Okay.
And so we really wanted to leverage that opportunity to put Kitsap on the map as part of that global movement. And so this year we're going to be hosting the first ever Firebrand Unconference. So it's an unconference for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs here in Kitsap. It's going to be a pretty small first event this year. And then we're going to have a open to everyone kind of after party networking piece of it after the conference itself. But we're looking for sponsors for that.
Okay, sponsorship.
And we're looking specifically for people who, again, that for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs piece. It's easy to go out and get grants and things for that type of event, but we really want there to be a sense of ownership between people who are committed to like, hey, we're building something great in Kitsap and we want to be a part of this. So
Okay, so you want local people.
We want local people or companies that maybe aren't local but have local employees.
Oh, okay.
Right?
That's
That
a great
understand
connection
that
there,
they
yeah.
want to invest back into this community because they see how much Kitsap has to offer.
Okay, so got to move on a little bit to leadership. Anything else about Match? Actually, what's next for Matchstick? Because I know it's evolving daily. What's next?
The Firebrand Unconference is the big what's next. I've got a great.
And that's in November.
That's in November 13th. I've got a great advisory team, and we are like, as this month, we're finalizing all the mission, vision, all that stuff, and we're gonna really have some information. We'll be hitting the streets to talk more about it in these coming months to help people understand what it is that we're building and understand how they can tap into it. So
Wow,
stay tuned.
What a resource. That is excellent. Okay, so moving on to leadership. What do you do to develop yourself, right? Because you just went from in your career, right, working for humanitarian NGOs and to now, an entrepreneur. How'd you make that switch?
I think, even for myself on paper, it looked like a big switch. But when you really look at it, a lot of what I was doing in the international development world it's community development.
Okay.
Right? So it was on an international scale, and I was doing it in places that were, not native to me. But the work itself is very similar. So the work that we're doing through Vibe and the work that we're doing through Matchstick Lab is at its root community and economic development.
It's right in alignment with
So
with
there's
your
a lot
core.
of similarities. Again, my background is political science. So the political side of it, the politics of community building feel very natural to me. But obviously the business and entrepreneurship and investment side of it all feels very new. So I'm a big fan of Libro FM, who's a Kitsap-born company that does audiobooks.
Oh, okay.
And so I tend to do all of my kind of professional development book reading via listening as I'm doing the mundane things of laundry and cleaning and gardening and that sort of thing.
When you can squeeze it in.
Yeah.
Did you have a mentor growing up? Or growing up through your career?
Yeah, I think...
or multiple mentors?
I think we all have multiple mentors, and I think it's you don't necessarily recognize them as such in the moment, right? But one of my very first bosses when I moved to Geneva, actually, he was, I think, foundational in kind of shaping my confidence in myself in the workplace, and also giving me, I often find myself saying, okay, what would John do?
That's
so he
great.
had instilled this just approach to treating people so authentically human, no matter how big the issue was or how complicated it was. And even I started with him actually as an intern, and then ended up staying on in the organization as an employee. And not once was I ever introduced as the intern. And that has really stuck with me, that he saw from day one, I was included at the table. Hey, Alanna, what do you think about this? Right. And this is my colleague. And that is something that I hope I remember to always exemplify with the teams that I'm working with. But it stuck with me a lot.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And then, so do you have a board of directors? I saw there was the 40 people.
So
I'm sorry, I can't remember
the founding
name.
40.
The founding 40.
Founding 40. So the founding 40 was something that is not a board of directors. We started it when we opened Vibe, before we opened Vibe even, to help create champions within the local community that could help us tell the story of what it was that we were building and could help shape what it was going to look like.
Oh, okay.
But Vibe, it's essentially a very small ownership team that is driving Vibe. Matchstick Lab does have a board advisory team formally.
Okay, wow, it sounds like you're partnering with tons of groups. Still your own thing, but the partnering. How do you develop those partnership rules? How do you continue to develop your relationships with all those partners?
To me, partnerships are fundamental, right? Like I can't imagine building what we're building without having strong partnerships. And so part of it is, I abhor duplication. So it's like, how do we not duplicate anything else that's being done across the community? And how do we recognize the zones of genius that so many other people across the community have and tap into those so that we're each playing in our best lane? So for me, it's, I think, a curiosity about what other people are doing and a genuine interest in getting to know them and their skill set, and then looking at the map and being like, okay, this is your strength. Let's tie that in over here, so we can build something that's strong and interconnected for the good of all of Kitsap.
That's great, because if we all win together, then it's a win.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow, super exciting. Anything else on Matchstick you want to talk about?
Stay tuned.
Okay,
it's gonna be,
I'm super excited to see where it is
coming out of it, and yeah.
And then, what advice do you give young emerging leaders that want to someday, have what you've got?
I think there's a tendency for a lot of people towards a scarcity mindset, and I always tell people, like, ditch the mindset. like really come at things with an abundance mindset and an understanding, like there is enough for everyone, and like how do we pull this together so that everyone can again be in their zone of genius, do their best work, and feel filled by that.
Wow, that's golden. Thank you. All right, I'd like to thank you for all the amazing things you're doing for the community. Matchstick, what a resource you guys are building there that I think is really going to change our community for the better. And it's been my pleasure to have this conversation with you. Please visit vibecoworks.com and, of course, leadershipkitsap.org for more information on these two amazing organizations. And I look forward to seeing you again on our next episode of Conversations with a Community Leader.